That is hardcore.
This is hardcore shit.
But for me, it's harder and harder to resist.
Oh, hello everybody, and welcome to Hardcore Horror with Mike and Bridget. Hello. Hello, Mike. Hello, Bridget. Oh, Bridget, we got spooky tonight.
We got some ghost happening.
Oh, it's getting chilly in here. Oh, what do we got going on tonight? We got a guest. What's he doing?
Yes, so we've got Allen Sircy. Allen is what we like to call an American hauntstorian. So he's kind of a historian, but he writes.
That sounds like an official title. I like it.
Totally does. And it's a cool title, too. I'm like, I want to be an American hauntstorian.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Cool.
Very cool.
So, that should be pretty cool. Excited to talk to him.
All right. Excellent. Before we get to him, let's go over a few things. Well, you know what? Halloween is right around the corner. It's really up on us. I mean, we got one more month in between, but all the spooky things are coming out. You get that feeling. It's like it's on the edge there. It's like your hair, your hairs on your arm is raising up. It's like, ooh, it's almost time.
Oh my God!
What do you think?
I'm so excited too because it's been so hot this summer. I'm like, move over, hot girl summer. It is spooky gal season.
Spooky gal, yeah. You ready for the cool down? Yeah. So obviously we talk about movies all the time. There's all kinds of stuff coming down the pike. We talked about a lot of them. So now that Terrifier 3 trailer dropped. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it looks pretty good. I'm obviously
pretty good.
gonna watch it. I was a huge fan of the first and second one, so yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, very good. Very good. I'm happy to report that The Crow bombed.
Are you surprised?
Not surprised, but happy. Happy because I knew it was going to be terrible. Yeah. Did I not say that?
Yep, you did. And I haven't seen it yet, but...
I haven't either. And I will watch it eventually, but it will be down the lane sometime.
Yeah, but everyone that I've talked to that has seen it didn't really care for it. So I don't know.
Again,
I mean,
not surprised though.
You never know. I'm gonna form my own opinion and watch it, but
I will too. But you know what? I think I've already formed enough that's gonna really probably bleed into that. So we'll see. We'll see. Unless they change my mind. So yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. I don't know. I don't have a whole big list for you right now, but there's stuff that's going to pop up on every streaming channel. Obviously, we've got movies coming out in the theater, but there's stuff that's coming out on every channel that's got some stuff coming up. Let's see. We got Peacock. They got some stuff. Teacup. That there's a new series. James Wan is a part of that. I don't know exactly what all it's about, but that one's coming up. Hysteria. They got one called that. There's a few other ones that will be on Peacock streaming, but there's quite a few. I'm not sure what all is going to be on Paramount because they shuttered their TV studios. I don't know exactly what all they're going to have, but Netflix has got some stuff. They got one called Control, What's Inside, The Platform Part 2, Outside, Don't Move, one called Time Cut, which apparently is pretty much a rip-off of Totally Killer.
And this
but
is where's that going to be streaming?
Those are going to be on Netflix.
Oh, Netflix. Okay.
Yeah, these are going to be all on Netflix. I think the one that I'm kind of most interested in though is called Woman of the Hour.
Woman of the Hour. I haven't not seen a trailer for it. So what's that about?
So what that one is about? That one is about the dating game killer. Do you know anything about this?
Oh,
no?
yes. He went on the dating game show. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. He went on the dating game show. Yes.
Now, which one was that? Like, I read a lot about serial killers and things.
It was Rodney Alcala. Rodney Alcala, maybe? Yeah, Rodney Alcala. Yeah, that was the guy. He went on there. He'd already killed some people, but then he went on that show, and he actually won. He actually won the date with this girl, but in a weird way, she maybe had her spidey sense going, and she's like, I don't know, he just kind of creeps me out. And so she didn't go on the date. She'd probably be dead if she did.
All I didn't know. So that's what is this a show or a movie that you're talking?
This is just a movie about it. Yeah, it's just a movie kind of about
I'd probably watch that.
Yeah, I think that'll be good. Yeah, I mean, we'll see.
And what did you say the name of that one was called?
That one is called Woman of the Hour.
Oh, Woman of the Hour. Woman of the Hour. I wonder if the Woman of the Hour was his date. No.
I don't know. Maybe it was after his victim. I don't know. We'll see. But as we go along, there's going to be more and more. We'll report more and more stuff as we go along with that. Because there's, again, when it becomes the holiday season, man, they just drop stuff like crazy. Shudder will have a bunch as well, and Screambox, and there's just going to be so much content. I did read that there was in talks to do a TV series. Check this out. Let me tell you what. All right, and tell me what you think about this. A Loomis prequel.
A Loomis prequel?
Mm-hmm. A Loomis prequel TV show.
A Loomis prequel TV show. I don't know.
So basically,
what is? I don't know what Loomis is. I'm like, what is Loomis?
Okay, Loomis is Dr. Loomis from Halloween. The Donald Pleasance character. Michael McDowell.
I remember his name. So from Halloween, he was the doctor, therapist, or whatever he was. So it's his story then.
His story before Michael.
I mean, it doesn't sound very interesting.
It doesn't at all.
I mean, it doesn't sound interesting. I'm like, that's such an odd character to pick to do a whole movie about, isn't it?
This is the new thing that they're doing. The same thing with Jason. Jason Camp. What was it called? It's like him as a kid. I'm like, what is it? What's that? Who cares? The whole story happened after he died, and his mother got revenge, and we all know the story. We don't need there is no real backstory. You're just cashing in and making up stuff. As far as Loomis is only interesting as an adversary to Michael. Like, the yin. It's yin and yang, but I have no interest in Loomis.
I don't either. That's what I was like. It sounds kind of boring. I feel like they're just running out of ideas. Like,
totally running out of ideas. I feel like this stuff's going to crash and burn, but who knows? Are we going to get a Leatherface as a boy kind of a deal? I mean, we already had the Leatherface movie where he was kind of a teenager.
They've already made that.
Yeah, but I mean, are we going to have a series that focuses? I mean, I don't know. I don't like that direction. It just seems kind of silly to me. That's just, total cash grab. You got anything else before we go to movies?
Yeah, one movie that I'm looking forward to seeing. I just saw the trailer for it, so I'm a bit behind, is The Substance. I'm excited about this movie. I love Demi Moore.
We talked about this one. We talked this one before. Yeah, that trailer looks really good.
It does look really good. I feel like when we talked about it before, I hadn't seen the full trailer. So after I've seen it, I was like, ooh, I got to talk about this because it looks really good. But there's not a lot of movies that are coming out that I'm excited about. So
same here.
It's kind of disappointing. I tried to get tickets to see tomorrow because I'm a AMC A+ member, and I tried to get Patience and I tickets to go see Coraline in 3D for the 15th anniversary. But if you're I love that movie. And I'm like, I'll totally see the theater on 3D. But even if you're an A-list member, for some reason, it doesn't include the 3D Coraline. It doesn't. I don't know why. I was so pissed earlier. I was like, I'm not going to pay for it. I already paid for the membership,
I actually did see it in 3D when it first came out.
You did?
I did, yes. Because that was back when 3D was hot, man. When it was like really the hot thing for like every movie. Yes, so I did see it. And it's kind of funny, too, because it came back out in theaters, and it actually did better than The Crow did last weekend.
Oh my God, are you serious?
I am, yes.
Bad. That is so bad.
It's funny though. It's funny. It's funny. Come on.
It's funny, but it's bad.
All right. All right. So you want to go to movies then?
Yeah, let's go to it.
All right. What do you got?
All right, so first movie on my list, I saw that you watched this, and I was like, I've never heard of it, so I had to check it out. It's Cutting
Okay.
Class.
Cutting Class. Brad Pitt.
89. Hey, that was, I think the first movie I ever saw Brad Pitt in was Thelma and Louise, and this is like older than that. I was like, damn. Yeah. I'd never heard of it. It was pretty good. Dude, what did you think?
It's a decent little slasher kind of a deal. I mean, I feel like you kind of know where it's going. It doesn't give you. It's not like a whodunit sort of a deal. But yeah, I think it's pretty good. You know, it's kind of fun to see Brad Pitt in a sort of slasher movie.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. It's I'd never even heard of it until I saw that you're watching. I was like, oh, let me check this out.
Yeah.
So next up, I did a rewatch of Hellraiser, 1987.
Oh, I'll tear your soul apart. Yeah.
Yes. So this movie is crazy because I didn't watch Hellraiser for the first time until probably about 10 years ago. And I was like, I don't know why. I just never saw it. It never came on TV. I just never saw it. And the first time I watched it, I was like, there is so much more to this movie other than Pinhead.
Oh, Pinhead's... You could actually take Pinhead out of it, really, to be honest.
Yeah, you totally take him out. I think the real villain is, the stepmom, Julia. I think she's the real villain.
And Frank, yes, and Frank, of course, yes, they are definitely the whole villains of the movie. I mean, to be honest, I mean, it's kind of weird that Pinhead is the thing that kind of stuck after that because, well, of course, she is in the second one, too, but, I mean, it definitely, I mean, obviously the look of Pinhead just screams horror villain, but... you could take him out totally, and I think that's why a lot of the sequels later on kind of just were movies that they just stuck them in because they're like, well, that's kind of what happened in the first one anyway, sort of. So I mean, it kind of works in its own little way. Although I do like movies that focus on him too. But yes, you're right. I mean, you don't get much at all about Pinhead and the Cenobites in the first one.
No, not at all. And I was like, I started thinking about it, and I believe it's on Shudder, AMC Plus. I've been watching this newer series about horror movie characters and how they come about and all that. And Pinhead's one of them. So I watched it, and they were saying basically it was just a marketing idea. They're like, Pinhead, his whole look and everything. So that's why they put him on the cover. Because, back in the 80s, it was all about, your cover. What does that cover art look like? And so it's like, that's pretty smart marketing. But
although I don't know, I think Frank would have done it too, though. I don't know. Frank with his no skin.
Yeah, that's pretty creepy. I love body horror movies. It's got some raunchy, nasty, slimy body horror in this movie. So I had to watch the second one. It's like, hey, let's go ahead and we'll just watch the second one since you watched the first one. And it's the second one is not as good. It's almost as good, but this franchise, I kind of didn't really get into them after the second one. They just kind of getting. I just didn't like any of them. Did you like any of the other ones other than the second?
I do like a lot of them. Honestly, I mean, they're not perfect. They don't have a total linear story. I mean, obviously they kind of try different things and see what works. But I do like some of them. I mean, yeah. But nothing compares, obviously, to the original, or at least the first two, for sure. They're not on the same level. But I can enjoy them, yeah.
Hellraiser's like such and Pinhead's such an iconic horror character. But if you compare Pinhead to like Jason Voorhees or Freddy Krueger, he's not quite up there, and I don't know why.
I think it's the subject matter. I think it's the fact that you look at the first one and there is a lot of S&M, and it's just that gore and that body horror, and it just doesn't. It's not as palatable, I think, to like the average Joe. Whereas Freddy and Jason, they all very similar. Like they're a little bit easier. You can throw it on at a party, you know. You throw Hellraiser on at a party, and depending on what kind of party it is, people might be like, "Oh, God, what's happening?"
That's so funny. That's so funny. You know, I just jogged something in my own memory here. I was talking to a friend the other day who recently got a Jason Voorhees tattoo, and he made this interesting comment to me. He said, "Do you ever notice how many people have Jason Voorhees or Friday the 13th somewhere like a tattoo?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's a lot. I can probably sit here and name 5 people." And he goes, "Have you ever met anyone with a Freddy Krueger tattoo?" And I was like, "Now that you mention it, no." Have you ever met, just asking you, Mike, do you know of anybody with a Freddy Krueger tattoo?
I mean, I can't think of anybody personally, but I mean, they're out there. They're out there. Look, they get tattoos of everything.
Everything,
I mean, to be honest.
True.
But I mean, is it the majority? I would say no, because I mean, you know, people like Friday the 13th. I mean, like again, it's of all of them, it's the most palatable. It's the most one that kind of anybody can kind of enjoy, I guess, without getting too deep on anything. You know, like Freddy Krueger's got, even him, he's got some dark backstory that some people might be like, "Oh, I don't.
That's funny, because that's exactly what he said. He's like, "Well, do you know why you've never met anyone with a Freddy Krueger tattoo?" And I was like, "No, why?" He said, "Because nobody wants to have a pedophile tattooed on them." I was like, "What the fuck?" I've never thought about that.
I mean, either consciously or subconsciously, that probably is true on a lot of levels. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's true. That and just the fact that, you know, like, the whole concept of nightmare it's just scary because it's your dreams and all that, and that's just sort of a sort of bizarre thing. Whereas Jason is just hack and slash and repeat, you know, and kind of a deal. And it's just easier. It's just like, again, it's just more of something you could see on any crowd. I feel like would be okay with that. Where yeah, if you really get into the deep dark mythos of, and you know, I mean, look at the way Freddy was conceived, the bastard son of 1,000 maniacs, you know? I mean, come on, that's pretty dark.
I mean, that
It's
is
dark.
That's very dark. Yeah, for sure. Anyways, I went down the rabbit hole there, so that's my bad. I got off track. But okay, so next up, I watched a movie from 2023 called Attack of the Corn Zombies.
Attack of the Corn Zombies.
It sounds cheesy, right? It sounds cheesy, but it was actually pretty damn good. And I found this movie, so I was on a podcast recently, Reaper's Underground, and it's funny because we're going to be bringing Reaper on our podcast here in a few weeks. But so he's one of the zombies in the movie, and you can stream it for free right now on YouTube because they are in the process of filming part 2. So just to kind of promote it, you can stream this one for free on YouTube. So I would recommend it. I would check it out. I was pretty surprised. You know, I'm not a big zombie movie kind of person anyways, but this is a different take on it, for sure.
Okay.
So, yeah, check that one out. See, what else we got? Oh, here we go. I did a rewatch of
Nekromantik! Yes, Nekromantik. Oh, what a beautiful love story. Tell them. Yes, I watched that too. I did a rewatch of that as well, so let's talk about it.
You did? That is so funny. Well, you know, the first time I watched this movie, I didn't get to finish it. And I can't believe I'm going to tell the story on a podcast, but I'm going to do it. So back few years ago, I was at Tracy's apartment and he was watching the Titans game. I'm not a big football fan. I was like, hey, I'm going to sit back in your bedroom and watch a movie. That was the movie I picked. And, you know, halftime or whatever, Tracy come back there and he was messing around with me and stuff. And I was like, there's nothing weird about this at all. And he looked up at the TV and goes, what the fuck are you watching? I was like, your timing's not really good here. It's not something you want to do when you're watching this movie because it's...
Or maybe it is. It just depends.
Maybe it is. Yes. So it's gross. It's a gross movie.
Yeah, it is. Okay, and it's on the hardcore horror list and all that stuff. But let's be honest. Isn't it kind of a little silly though?
Oh, it's totally silly. totally
Yeah.
silly. And
Like-
that's some parts didn't really make sense, like where they're like skinning the rabbit.
Well, that is just for gross out effect, right? That's just to be like, look at us, look how gross we can be. We're sitting in the mood for you to make you feel vulgar, and then we're gonna go forth with our body. But yeah, I mean, but honestly, that's really the scariest, grossest part of the movie, really.
It really is, yeah. I was like, that's kind of goofy. Like I don't know why they put that in there. I guess you're right. It is kind of build up to what is to come.
Yeah, and the theme itself is obviously very taboo. So I mean, again, I can see why it's on the list, but honestly, the props and everything, it's not big budget enough to make it look real or nothing like that. So it does, in its own way, seem silly to me. I mean, it's fun in its own way to me, but it's not. It's not like, to me, I don't watch it and go, wow, that was heavy. It's not like that to me.
It's kind of comical too. Like when she leaves her boyfriend for, she says, and I took our new friend with us, and she leaves him. I was like, damn, he just got dumped for a corpse.
Right? Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
So I've never seen part 2. Have you seen the second one?
I have, yeah. Matter of fact, it's on my list. I did a rewatch of it, but go ahead.
Oh, good. Okay, well, I haven't seen it. Do you want to go ahead and talk about it since it's part 2?
Okay, well, part 2, I mean, it's a different story. It focuses on a girl. Well, okay, so at the end of part 1, right, you got the guy, and I mean, I don't want to go into detail about it, but he's taking some aggression out on himself, right? and we see some blood squirting in certain areas. Do you remember?
Okay, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah, in the groin area, if you will. So anyway, okay, so the second one picks up where that left off. Like it shows him again doing all that, and then so obviously he died. Well, you got a girl who comes and digs him up out of the grave and takes him and has him as her cadaver.
Hey, wow, that is so odd.
Yeah, and it's really just more of the same. There's no like skinning stuff or anything like that in this one, but it's just more of the same. It really is silly. I mean, again, shocking only for the theme of it, the nature of it, obviously. So what this one she does is she's got this corpse and stuff, but then she meets a guy, and so she tries to be. She's like, oh, I got this corpse, so she ends up cutting the corpse up, but she keeps a couple of parts. Okay, she keeps a couple. I won't say which, but she keeps a couple, and disposes of the rest. And so now she's got this new guy, and it kind of follows that along for a while. But then I won't reveal the ending because I want you to watch it. But yes, the ending is pretty sweet.
Okay, all right, cool.
Yeah,
I mean, she keeps a couple of parts.
If you like the first one, you have to watch the second one. Because I think it's a little bit more cohesive as far as like just straight plot than the first one. Yeah, but it is though more of the same, to be honest.
I think it's good. I don't think it's for everyone. So
It's not for everyone. But
he tried to watch this with me, and he couldn't make it through it.
he can do it.
He couldn't do it. Yeah, he was just like, what?
Well, again, I think the idea of it is repulsive to most, and I think that if you can't get past the idea of it, then you just can't watch it. But I think if you're okay with the idea of it, I think there's nothing other than the skinning of the rabbit, nothing really that will be like, oh.
I don't know. I think the worst part that grossed me out, like, and it didn't even like really show it. It was just like knowing. So you see, like, taking a rod and like with a saw, like cutting this rod.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's that rod for? Like, that's
yeah.
And then she puts the condom on it, and the rest is history.
Yeah, you do what you gotta do. You do what you gotta do when it's that disintegrated. The flesh is no more.
Oh my god. Oh my gosh.
But in the second one, he's fresh enough that that doesn't have to happen.
Oh wow. Okay. Oh my gosh, I've got it now. Oh my god, I gotta go watch this. I have to watch it. That is crazy. Okay, so moving on. Next movie I watched was a movie called Bereavement. Was this the one that had like the part 2 and you're like, oh no, I gotta watch the second and third one? Was that this?
Yes, there's three parts to it.
Okay, so I only watched the first one.
I think that one might be the second one, though.
Bereavement's the second one?
I think it is. I could be wrong.
So it's it was pretty good. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I like it.
I've watched the second or third one for sure. I just haven't got around to it yet. But Bereavement was from 2010, and I can't think of the lead actress's name, but she's been in a few horror movies, and I like her as an actress. I think she's real pretty.
She was in that Texas Chainsaw movie. Yeah,
she was, and she's got these really pretty eyes. She's got these like gorgeous eyes. But anyways, Bereavement, pretty good movie.
Yeah.
So that is all I have. My list is really short because I've been traveling a lot for work, but I did get some pretty good ones in there. So, and you always have a fun list. I love listening to your movie list. So, what do you got?
All right, I don't have a whole lot either, but I'll run through a few. First thing I watched was Kilroy Was Here.
Kilroy with Fear.
Kilroy Was Here.
Oh, with Here.
Yeah.
Like with an H.
Yes, Kilroy Was Here. So this is a thing that it's kind of like the first meme. I think the first ever meme, if you will, in its own little way. This is like a thing that happened back in World War II, where they, like, as they were fighting, especially in Britain and other places, but they would see like this drawing of this guy kind of poking his head like maybe above a wall, like above, and you can see his eyes and his face and like a really long nose. But it was just kind of like this art graffiti, and you just kind of see it different places. So it was kind of interesting. Well, anyway, there was a movie made about this a long time ago. I don't know what that movie is about, but this one that I watched was 2022 by Kevin Smith, guy who did Clerks and Jason Amy and Mallrats and Red State and Tusk and all that. Now, the thing about this movie, it was weird because it never was technically officially released. Kevin did this weird thing where he sold it as an NFT, which is bonkers to me. I don't know. I'm too old. But anyway, so it never was technically officially released, but you can find it online. So I watched it. I mean, it's okay. It's an anthology. You can tell he didn't really spend a whole lot of time on it, to be honest. And it's really short. It's just over an hour long. But a lot of the people that from his other movies are in there and everything. But, I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad as a horror anthology. But, yeah, it's just interesting that he didn't really, like, put it out there. So, I don't know. Maybe he will eventually.
Are you saying this is the same director as Chasing Amy and Mallrats? And
Yeah.
Well, that's crazy, isn't it?
Well, he's done some horror movies now. He did Red State, and he did Tusk, and he did Yoga Hosers. Yeah,
Tusk. That was pretty. That was pretty out there.
Yeah, that one is wild. That one is. Up next was a movie called Midnight Peep Show from 22. A man stumbles across a darkly magical peep show booth. It was okay. I'll tell you, the trailer looked awesome, and I thought, this is going to be really good. It didn't live up to the trailer, so kudos to whoever cut that trailer, because it made me want to watch it. But it wasn't that good. It was okay. But I feel like from that trailer, they could have definitely made this so much better. But, just kind of okay.
You know something about trailers lately is, I've been kind of pissed off at movie trailers lately, because I feel like, especially for horror movies, they're giving away all like the best damn like horror scene.
Totally.
They're giving away in the trailer. I'm like, why do they do that? I hate that. I hate it. Drives me
Yeah,
insane.
same here. Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, I get it. You want to get people pumped for it, but sometimes well, look at long legs. I mean, simple things work too. Like little things that make you wonder what it's about works too. So maybe maybe take take a look at that and maybe not show everything.
Long Legs was a great example of a good trailer. There's a few trailers, but it didn't give everything away. And the first couple I watched, I'm like, I don't really know what this movie is about, but it looks really good,
Exactly. Yeah. So if you can do stuff like that, that's probably better. I mean, look, The Shining, I think it was literally the part, where the hotel where the blood comes out and it's just flowing. I think that was the whole trailer. So it's like, yeah. So, I mean, you don't have to give everything away. Up next, a rewatch of Frontiers from 2007. This is back in the heyday of the French extreme horror movies. And I'm telling you, you got to watch this one. It's really good. It's not as good as Martyrs, but it's really good.
Okay.
It's dark.
Yeah, because I don't think I've seen this one. So Frontiers, adding it to my list.
Absolutely. Up next is a 1991 movie called Shock 'em Dead.
Shock 'em Dead. I don't think I've heard of this one either. Is it pretty
good? It was okay. Martin is a loser who makes a deal with the devil to become the greatest rock star in the world. We got Tracy Lords in here.
Oh, cool. I love Tracy Lords.
Yeah. I mean, it's still 91, but it's still kind of that 80s feel of, that kind of rocker stuff. It's like a little bit of Trick or Treat in there too, where it's kind of like this guy, he kind of gets kicked out of these bands and stuff, and so he makes a deal with the devil and he becomes super cool. And so this one band that kind of wouldn't let him join, he comes and takes over basically. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of what you'd think it would be, but I mean, a fun watch. At best, a fun watch.
Okay.
Up next is Silent Rage from '82. I have seen this before when I was a kid, so this is a rewatch, but it's been a long, long time. This is Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris, wow. I haven't heard that name in a while.
Chuck Norris in a horror movie, huh?
I was gonna say, I didn't even know he even starred in any horror movies, so that's pretty cool.
Well, I mean, it's a little bit of, let's say horror meets a Chuck Norris movie, okay? So it's a little bit of that. He's not doing a whole lot of completely action, but there is quite a bit of it in there for sure. You'll see some. I mean, there's a lot of punching and kicking and stuff. But a sheriff tries to stop the killing spree of a silent maniacal murderer who, as a result of secret genetic experimentation by an unethical student, has the ability to self-heal.
Oh, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a horror movie.
Yeah. So it's pretty good. You think it's worth a watch?
I do think, I think it's worth a watch. I think it is. I mean, again, it's a little weird because it is that blend of Chuck Norris. But if you like Chuck Norris stuff, I mean, gotta check it out for sure.
Yeah, that's different though. It's looking for something different. So it's a good, different little take.
Yeah, you can watch that one on Tubi.
Cool, love us some Tubi.
Yeah, absolutely. Up next is a rewatch of Eat from 2014. I think you've seen this one. It's about the girl who is trying to be an actress and things aren't really going her way, so she starts eating herself.
Oh, yeah. Yes. I feel like I watched it not too long ago. It's different.
It's a good movie.
It's a good movie.
I like it.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely different and kind of like that about it,
Absolutely, yeah. Up next is The Fourth Floor from 1999 with Juliette Lewis. Yeah, I never actually. I hadn't heard of it either. I came across it a while back, and this is 1999. This is prime time Juliette Lewis. I mean, I'm sorry, but the late 90s, it was kind of her deal. She was definitely up there. So it's a pretty decent little movie. I like it. It's more of a thriller, I guess you would say, than a straight up horror movie. But it's weird because she's in here, but you got William Hurt is in here. Shelley Duvall's in here. But most surprisingly to me was Tobin Bell. Pre-Saw was in here.
Wow, that's pretty crazy. Fourth Floor. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I recommend that one. It's still more Hitchcockian thriller than it is more horror, but still worth a watch.
Yeah, for sure.
Up next was Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer Part 2.
Oh, part 2. I didn't even know there was a part 2.
Yeah, it's the first time I ever watched it. It's not that good. Not the same cast as the first, and I don't know. See, maybe I don't know that much about Henry Lee Lucas and everything, because obviously him with Otis and stuff, that was stuff that I knew about. So the first one made sense to me, but this one is him with some other guy, and I don't even know if this was even all real or they just kind of took some liberties with this or not. But it wasn't that good. It feels like more of a TV movie, to be honest. So definitely one you could skip. Unless you just are completist and really want to watch it, but
that's what I was going to ask you, if it was because the first one was, based off a true story. Was the second one based off a true story, but you don't really know that? I
mean, it's still Henry, and I'm pretty sure it's still Henry Lee Lucas, as far as I can get out of it. But I don't know. I didn't do my research to find out for sure, but yeah, because it says it picks up where the original left off. That's what it says. But I'm like, did it? Is that how it really happened in the real life? I don't know. Maybe I just don't know much of that much about the story. But
first one has some extreme scenes in it. Is the second one extreme at all? Or no? Probably not. You said it's like TV. No.
Nah. I mean, it's art. I mean, it's art and everything. But I wouldn't say it's like not disturbing like the first one is.
Okay. Yeah, the first one it had some pretty intense parts, and I was like, I was kind of surprised. I think the first time I watched it, I didn't know what I was watching, so I was like, oh.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. It's pretty hardcore. Up next was 81's Nightmare.
81's Nightmare.
Well, from 1981. Nightmare.
Oh, you're talking about Nightmare on Elm Street?
No. It's just called Nightmare.
It's just called Nightmare?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't think I know this one.
A mental patient embarks on a murder spree upon escaping from an institution.
Okay, is it good?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I think you should watch it. It's got enough boobs and blood and carnage.
Yeah, I love my horror movies from 81. So and that's one I haven't even heard of, so definitely need to check that out.
Yeah, I mean, I think is it amazing? No, but it's pretty good.
Okay.
Up next was Mikey from 1992. Mikey. Yeah, I've seen this box cover, VHS, trail, just covers for years, years and years. And I never picked it up. I never watched it because I was like, I know what this movie's going to be about. I mean, and I'm right. I mean, you can tell by the trailer or even by the synopsis how it's going to go. And there's so many movies like this that I don't feel like it's special in any way, but I mean, it's okay. It just isn't like, oh my God, that's so wild and crazy, It went exactly as I pictured it to go.
So I haven't seen this movie, and when you said, I've seen the cover, I had to pull it up to see what it looked like. But I've never seen this.
Never seen the cover? Yeah.
I've never seen it. Is this worth a watch, you think?
I mean, not really. Unless you're just in the mood for a formula movie.
Okay, yeah. Unless I'm in the mood for what?
A formula movie?
I thought you know what I thought you said? Unless you're in the mood for a porno movie, and I was like, what'd you say? I really thought.
That's a different kind of Mikey.
You know how I am about the formula movies. It's not, they.
Yeah. It's just that whole concept of the evil kid, the kid, and it all kind of goes the same. I mean, unfortunately, they're just all exactly the same.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
Up next was a rewatch of Dracula's Widow from '88.
Ooh, Dracula's Widow. I haven't seen it. It sounds pretty good though.
I actually used to have this on VHS back when I was trying to watch all the vampire movies. I mean, it's okay. It's kind of it's more tongue in cheek. It's not like trying to take itself seriously. So it's more of a lighter kind of movie. But it's about this woman, or Dracula's bride, who wakes up. She's reawakened, and she comes to find out that Dracula's been killed, and so she kind of sets her sights on somebody else.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Don't rush out to watch it, but, I mean, I think it's okay. Up next was a rewatch of They, Them on Peacock. It came out a couple years ago with Kevin Bacon. I still don't love this movie. I love Bacon. I love the performances and stuff. I think that it takes too long to get going with the kills and all that, and it's a little bit rushed at the end there. But I mean, it's got some good performances and it's set up pretty good. It's just a little bit too long to get to where it needs to be, I think.
I agree on that one. I agree with you. I do remember that about it. That's where with my ADHD, it's so hard for me sometimes. Like when they start off so slow, I'm like, it better have a good payoff, Yeah.
I mean, I do love the turning point where Kevin and the counselors and stuff, they really they're so happy and so nice and so, just encouraging, and then just the switch just flips, That's good. Up next, and the last one is 1992, Pieces.
That's a good one.
That's a great one. I mean, look, I'm not going to say that people don't talk about Pieces, but why don't people talk more about Pieces?
I know it's I have no idea. It's the gore, just the color,
fantastic.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
So it's good. I have no. That's a good question. That's a really good question because I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I love it. Look, I love this movie. I think it's just set up really good. It's got red herrings. It's got a lot of stuff going for it. The waterbed scene alone is freaking phenomenal. And that even it's funny because you got this girl in the hallway talking to this other student. She's like, "Oh, I love to get stoned and fuck on a waterbed." And then later on, that happens, and you're like, "Oh my god, it's a great callback." But it's just a great movie. I think it's a great movie. I mean, and again, I'm not saying that you don't see it on lists and you don't hear people talking about it. I just feel like it should be up there. It should be up there in the yeah, it's a little bit more low budget, I think. I feel like that might be the only hindrance to it, other than like a big studio film or something. But I really enjoy it, man. I think if you haven't seen this one, you should definitely check it out.
I think it's funny that when you posted it on Slasher that's what you're watching, somebody commented, "Classic gore master, Pieces." Get it? I thought that was so funny.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that was funny.
Yeah. I mean, it's just got some great imagery. The covers are great, the ones I've seen, and it's just, it's just a movie that I feel like hasn't really got its complete due, People really need to revisit that one and talk about it a little bit more.
It makes me wonder if maybe the time that it was released, that something else got released. I feel like that happens a lot with movies. Like, you've got this really great movie, but it comes out at the same time another movie does, and it just kind of...
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and this is 82. This is like just that boom of slashers are starting, and so... I'm sure it did kind of get lost in the shuffle there, and who knows what happened. I mean, a million things could have happened. Marketing could have fell out, and it just kind of got left by the wayside, and nobody's never really completely said, "Hey, guys, you really got to watch this movie." Again, I have seen people talk about it. It's not like it is ignored, but I just feel like it should be on some lists, man, like more lists.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. I think that's the only movie on your list that I've seen other than Nekromantik. That's why I love listening to your movie list, because I swear like half of the movies on my list to watch come from you, and I love it. And I had someone tell me the other day, they're like, "Oh my gosh, when I don't know what to watch, I like listen to you guys' podcast, and I can go and it gives me recommendations for movies." And I was so excited about that. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, well, it's always cool because I'm the same way. If I hear somebody talk about a movie, or like I see a poster or something about a movie and I've never heard of, it piques my curiosity, and I'll look into it. And if I think it's worth my time, I'll go check it out. So
yeah.
Very cool. All right, that's all I got. You ready to talk to Alan?
Yeah, let's talk to him.
All right. Very cool. Let's do it.
What's up, everybody? Tonight we've got a really special guest. We've got Allen Sircy. Allen is an American hauntstorian. Amazing. He's a paranormal investigator, and he's also an author of these amazing books. One that I've just read. What's up, Allen?
Hey,
Hey, Alan, what's going on?
hey.
Hey, so tell us a little bit like how you got into writing these paranormal books.
Yeah, it's been a crazy long journey. I guess back in 2005, my grandmother was put into a nursing home, or my great grandmother was put in a nursing home, and my uncle called me out of the blue and said, "Hey, the house is tied up in an estate and it's sitting empty, and the insurance is about to cancel because someone's got to be in the house for them to cover it." So he asked me if I'd be willing to move in. I told him I would. And I was in an apartment at the time, so I moved in and. The first night I was there, a trash can moved 8 feet in the middle of the night in the kitchen. Uh, weird things happen all the time. I'd go to work, come home, the TVs be on. The 3 TVs in the house would all be on, different bedrooms. I have a light in the den. I'd turn it off each night, wake up each morning, it was on. Weird stuff happened all the time. So one day I hopped the fence and I walked over to the mansion. I was talking to the folks there at Traveler's Rest. The property in 1300s, it was the Indian village. In the 1800s, it belonged to John Overton. He was the founder of the city of Memphis. He was a Superior Court judge, best friend Andrew Jackson, very wealthy guy. So it's a working slave plantation in the 1800s. So I go over there. I talk to the lady at the in the mansion. Hey, I live over here behind the fence. Weird things are happening. Is this place haunted? Oh, sir, I can assure you, there's no such thing as ghosts. Here we talk about the Overtons, the Native Americans. There's no such thing as ghosts. You're wasting your time. So I go back. I'm about to leave. Go back to the house. And the lady pulls up in her car, and she gets out. She's wearing the period attire. She's a staff member. So I said, "Ma'am, I live right over here, and strange things happen in the house. Is this place haunted?" She said, "Oh, honey, there's so many ghost stories here, but I can't tell you." I was like, "Oh, okay." A lot of historic sites don't really want to talk about that kind of stuff. It's bad for business, or so they say. So,
Yeah.
and then I guess several years later, I met my wife, and we went to Savannah, Georgia. I know, Bridget, you said you've been to Savannah. You love it down there.
Oh yeah, Savannah. I love Savannah. I think I like it because of all the history and the ghost stories. It will always stay at the Kehoe House. I don't know if you've ever stayed there or not, but it's on the haunted one of the
Yeah,
haunt
no worries.
tours. Yeah, it's gorgeous on the inside. It's a beautiful place to stay, and we've had some kind of creepy shit happen to us in there too. So, but just nothing crazy, but just fun, you know.
Yeah, my wife and I went down there, and I didn't want to go. She took me kicking and screaming, and she booked a trip for a ghost tour. And again, I didn't really want to go, but I went, and I was just amazed the history and the hauntings and how they kind of correlate, and it really got me thinking. So went back, I guess, less than a year later, and we booked another ghost tour. But this time, we paid like $40 and went to 4 places. It was kind of it was a ripoff. So my wife, she was really aggravated, and she kept telling me, "Someone's got to make an app for $2. Is all the haunted places." She's like, "You should do it. You should do it." So I got a Mac that summer and taught myself how to code, watched hundreds of hours of YouTube videos and figured it out. So I made one for Savannah. I got bored, made one for Nashville, Salem, Boston, New Orleans, St. Augustine, Louisville. And just kind of took it and ran with it because I had the template. Well, in 2019, my wife, my little boy, we're expecting a child in March. So I'm sitting in the floor on a Monday night putting together the toy box I got from the day before in the baby shower. My wife comes in from work and she's really upset. She's crying. Turns out they closed her entire division. VP came into town and told them everybody lost their jobs. So I'm trying to figure out what am I going to do? It's got a baby on the way. I was praying about it. And next morning, let's do a podcast. And this guy said, "Oh, well, you're never too old to go back to college." I was like, "Man, I'm 40 years old. I can't go back to college. But I've got this education from making these apps, all these haunted places. I'll write a book." So in the Nashville app, I had some places for Gallatin. And Gallatin, it's a little small town northeast of Nashville. Town square, burned down numerous times. Civil War, they're hanging soldiers. Just a lot of weird stuff happened in Gallatin. So I did the book about Gallatin, Southern Ghost Stories, Ghost of Gallatin. And it sold really well. It shocked me how well it did. So I did Murfreesboro the following year, did Franklin, Opryland, and then just off to the races.
That's That is so
Nice.
awesome. So, I wasn't in my first like movie until I think I was like in my later 30s. So it's never too late in life to do what you want to do and what you're passionate about. So kudos to you
Yeah.
for doing that for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
But let's go back. Let's go back to that. Now, you said all this stuff was happening. You said this trash can was moving around. TVs were coming on by themselves. All these noises. Didn't that affect you, or did you have any feelings about this when it was happening?
It didn't really bother me, to be honest with you. I mean, I was aware of it. Thought it was kind of strange, but nothing really bothered me. But when my great grandmother finally did pass away, we had the front room kind of quartered off where her belongings were. It was the main living room. Well, after she died, my aunt and my cousin came by and they cleaned that room out. Well, as soon as they left on the other side of the house, like the door closed, and all of a sudden there's a crash in the living room, like probably 60, 70 feet away. So I go running to the living room and I get in there and I discover there's an old mirror that was hanging over the fireplace. Been there probably 40 years, weighed probably 30 pounds. Well, it didn't drop and fall off the wall, off the fireplace. It didn't drop and roll off the mantel there. Something threw it 8 feet down the hallway. That's the only thing that kind of unnerved me.
That is the craziest thing to me. I would be probably super spooked out at that point, because
Yeah.
that could be dangerous. Like, what if it hit someone? Or that's just crazy. I'm guessing it shattered pretty good too, didn't it?
No, I mean it was a very old mirror. They built stuff pretty sturdy back then. Like the glass wouldn't crack. I think some of the like the little fixture or the thing around the mirror was kind of chipped, but it was still standing. It was
Oh, wow.
That is so crazy. Wow. Yeah, you're right. They totally made things a lot better back in the day. That's for sure.
But they say that spirits don't like it when you move things around. Like if there's a historic house and you're renovating things, that's when they start acting up and lashing out, letting you know that they don't like what you're doing. There's a place in Brentwood of Ravenswood's mansion. They were doing some renovations. They took this picture off the wall, and everything started happening, just going south in the house until they put that picture back on the wall where it was.
God, you're right about that. My parents' house was built in the 1800s. They moved in that house when I was like 2 years old, so they've been there forever. And I think it was around like 2007. It was a really old kitchen. They decided to like completely gut the kitchen out and remodel it. And during the time of the remodel, I know my mom has seen like a lot of things in the house, but nothing that ever really spooked her. But when that remodel was happening, she woke up and saw a man like standing over her, and she actually thought it was my brother who was staying at the house at the time. And she said, "What are you doing?" And she said she's seen the figure kind of turn and look at her, and then she realized that he was only had shoulders and the head up. There was no body. And ever since then, she sleeps with a lamp on. She will not sleep in a dark room after that one night. And it was all that happened like when the renovations was happening. So I think you're onto something there.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's wild.
Yeah, that is crazy. I think I remember your Gallatin book. So your Gallatin book was the first book that you wrote, and on the cover of it is a picture, and I remember it showed my cousin used to live in an apartment on the square of Gallatin, and her apartment was over top of this restaurant. So really, really cool, like gorgeous apartment. And she always told me that she heard like things and like doorknobs would like jiggle by themselves, and then it shows up on the cover of your book, and I was like, oh my God, she was right. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's really weird because that if you look at the cover of the Gallatin book, it's like a shop on the right side. It's called Timeless Treasures, and weird things happen there. They say that it's a child that's upstairs rooming, and it's not just that one building; it's all of North Water. There's kids that run back and forth, and one of the stories I kind of heard about was a lot of these buildings, because the back of the buildings face the railroad tracks. A lot of the buildings were brothels, and I was in one of the buildings on North Water when they remodeled it several years ago. Paint off the wall and just kind of read everything. You can see where there are 10 by 10 partitions built into the wall, and that's where the girls would work. And you look out the back window, and there's railroad tracks. And they say with the girls, when they saw the train, they go to the window and wave. So there's all kinds of fires. I think there were 3 fires during Reconstruction that were documented. So, and they say that people have died in those fires, and I think a lot of some of the kids may have been up there with their mothers, and that's why they still have them running around upstairs today.
Oh wow, that's pretty creepy. Creepy. So I just finished your downtown book, Southern Ghost Stories, Nashville Downtown. So I'm a Nashville native, right? Lived here all my life. And there was so much in this book that I read that I didn't know, like the history behind a lot of these buildings. I was like, oh my God, like half of Broadway and Second Avenue is like haunted. It's crazy. Crazy. And I had no idea. And pretty crazy stories, like one of the bars, they keep the liquor in like a metal cage in the basement, and then the ghost likes to mess with the employees and like shut them in that cage. I was like, that shit would be creepy. If that happened to me, I'd be like super spooked. Like, so you have really good stories in here. One thing I am going to give you kudos on, I know Mike is over there thinking, Bridget actually read a book? I can't believe it. I know you were thinking that, right? So I'm super ADHD, right? Like, it is so difficult for me to sit down and read a book. This was super easy for me to read. I like how you break it down into sections. You'll tell the history on the building, and then you tell about the hauntings. And then it's 1, 2, maybe 3 pages. And then you can put it down and go about your business and pick it up again and read the next story. It's super easy to read. And I really appreciate that about it.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think you told me that when I was buying. I was like, well, hopefully I'll read this book, because I'm really bad about sitting down and reading books. You're like, it's sectioned off. Like you'll be fine with it. And you're right. It's really good. Are all your books written like that?
Yeah, pretty much. I try to make them bite sized because, I could make them where it's just a straight history book and boring, but I want to make it where it's fun, and each chapter is different, but each chapter is kind of the same. Some are longer, some are shorter, but I kind of give you the history and break it down and tell you why it's haunted and how it links up with the history there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I don't think I've ever heard any like most stories, they'll tell you, they won't give you, like, even if these paranormal shows on TV, they don't give you like the backstory of why it's haunted. But I can tell that you really tried to dig into that and find out the reason and the history behind the building. I think that's pretty cool. Was a lot of things. I think people are obsessed with ghosts and paranormal because they just want to know like why, they want to understand it. So I think that really helps or makes it easier when you kind of give that back history. And I had no idea all the things. I mean, obviously, like all the things like downtown Nashville that, you're talking about in this book, like with the Indians and the fires and just all this crazy stuff that happened there, that, yeah, I can see why it's haunted.
But yeah, it's
almost
wild.
I mean, it's like, is it like almost damn near every building down there? Like,
Yeah,
I feel like I was like, look, building, all on Broadway, all on Second Avenue. I had no idea.
Well, it's funny, like Broadway, now it's like a sea of honky tonks, but back in the 1700s, there was a big bloody battle there called the Battle of the Bluffs. It took place between the settlers and the Native Americans. At the time, Nashville, they had the settlers built a fort at Fort Nashboro, and it wasn't like a little cookie cutter structure there by the river. It was up on Church Street. It was like 2 city blocks. It was massive. It had to be massive because the Indians kept trying to bait the settlers out of it to fight them. And finally, one day they did. They got some hot-headed settlers to chase them. And what happened was the Indians were laying in wait. Several hundred were laying there. They called it the Tall Grass, which is where Broadway is now. They laid there in wait for them in the tall grass, and they ambushed them. Well, more settlers came out to kind of even the score. They're still outnumbered. But Charlotte Robertson, the wife of James Robertson, the founder of Nashville, she saw that, like, the settlers in bad shape. So they're fighting. The natives are trying to steal the settlers' horses. That's like a brand new Cadillac for them. And as this is ongoing, Charlotte sees her son get scalped up on the hill, which is now where the Capitol is. And she unleashes all the hunting dogs. So had she not done that, it'd been a row. The Indians would have killed all the settlers. They would have eventually reestablished Nashville, but they had to start over. So Charlotte Robertson, by unleashing those dogs, she ran the Indians off and saved the day for her men. But that big bloody battle happened right there where Tootsie's and Rippies and like all those famous Nashville attractions are.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah. Her son he's got scalped, right? But he lived. Is that right?
Yeah, he lived to tell about it. Yeah, it's nuts.
Isn't that crazy? That's pretty crazy. I'm like, wow, that's awesome. Do you have any upcoming projects you're working on? Any upcoming books?
Oh yeah, I've got several that actually drop here in like a day or two, September 2nd or 3rd, I believe. I got a book about Florida. I had the Southern Ghost Stories titles. I use that for a long time, and then I went to Louisville and I used it from a Louisville book, and then I went to Philadelphia 2 or 3 summers in a row. While I was up there, I kept, 'cause it's what I do. I'd start taking notes, and I wrote a book called Southern Ghost Stories Philadelphia. Well, it's kind of confusing because Philadelphia is clearly in the north unless you live in Maine. So I adopted a new title called Ghost Stories from Graveyard Tales, like from my Midwest books and from up north. And this year, I've kind of adopted it when I do like a full state. So I've got Ghost Stories from Graveyard Tales, Alabama, Florida, and New York City dropping next week. And then the Fear and Folklore series I have Fear and Folklore, American Witches, and Grave Robbers.
Awesome.
Oh,
Very cool.
yeah, that's
So now, Alan, you do all these books of all these different cities from all over America, cities and minor cities. Any thoughts to like maybe doing a rural, like Tennessee or rural Kentucky, and like maybe compiling them all together?
I've got a Southern Ghost Stories Tennessee Tales, and I've tried to be region specific. Like I have Franklin, I have Knoxville, I have Chattanooga, Nashville. Well, Tennessee Tales is like stuff from Smyrna, Portland, Spring Hill, Burns, because there's a lot of stories all over the place, and all these small towns. What do you do with them? Well, I put them in the Tennessee Tales just to have something. Like, because everybody asks, about the Bell Witch. Like, I didn't want to do a story about the Bell Witch because it's been overdone. It's a story of a tale that's become a legend, and no one knows what's what. But I met a guy who used to work at the Hermitage, Andrew Jackson's home. And the story I heard for years when I was a kid was Andrew Jackson, the president, went to see if the Bell Witch was a thing. He took his horse and carriage to Adams, Tennessee to visit the Bell Farm. So I talked to the guy at the Hermitage, and he told me, he said, hey, look, Jackson and John Bell were friends. John Bell was a senator. He ran for president in 1860. They were buddies. So Jackson, we know for a fact he went to see him. It's been documented here in our archives and records. So I was like, well, okay, I got that. I'll run with that. So I tackled the Bell Witch unwillingly, but I went at a different angle than the big bad boogeyman in Adams, Tennessee. Because really, I think it's Native American stuff. I don't think it's a witch. But yeah, Tennessee Tales and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right.
And have you ever stayed any? Go ahead. I'm sorry. Say it again.
And he's asked about Kentucky. I have a Louisville book, Southern Ghost Stories, Louisville, and I have Ghost Stories and Graveyard Tales, Kentucky, which is kind of like a hodgepodge, just stuff from Hopkinsville to McLean County, just all over the state.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Have you ever stayed in like a haunted hotel and wanted to write about it?
Yeah.
I have a thing where I like to stay in haunted places. I've stayed in several of them, but I don't know. It's just a thing I like to do. Where have you stayed at that's been haunted?
Oh man, I'm trying to think. When I was in New Orleans, I have a book about New Orleans, Southern Ghost Stories New Orleans. It's actually my best-selling title. I stayed at the place called Magnolia Mansion. It's in is it the business district? It's by the Superdome. It's not in like Bourbon Street and in the quarter. It's away from everything. But it's a big, beautiful old mansion built in 1800s, and I was staying there, and I heard a noise like 3 or 4 in the morning, kind of startled me, and I went to the bathroom, and I heard this little boy go, "Hey!" And then I went outside thinking, okay, somebody's checking out early. There's a family out here, and I walk outside, and there's nobody out there, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. Heard some other weird sounds, and before I checked out, I talked to the lady who ran the mansion, and I told her what I heard. She's like, "Yeah, that's strange because there's a story about people hearing children, but normally it's on the second floor, so it's kind of weird. I heard them. I was staying on the first floor."
Oh, that's pretty crazy. Yeah. So your New Orleans book, like New Orleans is like kind of known for ghost stories, like the entire city's haunted. How did you pick what stories you wanted to put in your New Orleans book? How did you determine that? Because I would think it'd be so oversaturated.
Yeah, someone asked me a while back, you shouldn't have seen be 400 or 500 pages, and it probably should be. But I learned early on the Gallatin book is 300 pages. My second book, Murfreesboro, is almost 400. And it's kind of intimidating to read a book that big, and I have people tell me, "Oh, it's just too big. I can't read this," and they don't buy it. So I've kind of learned to try to stick around 200 pages. It should be a coffee table book, not a phone book, and just make it fun. So I kind of had to pick and choose, and I had a real good friend of mine. He was a doorman. I think he was like it wasn't a Best Western, but it was a smaller chain there, right? I think in the I think it's by Louis Armstrong Park, and it wasn't really a big hotbed of paranormal activity to the mainstream. But he was telling me that there was this crazy story where I think it was back in the mid 20th century, early 20th century, or late 20th century. There's a guy from Mississippi. He kind of led a double life. He had a family, he had children, wealthy guy, but his fantasy was to come to New Orleans and be with two men at the same time. So he went to a bar there in the quarter and picked up two guys and brought them back to his room. Well, he comes out of the bathroom and they jump him and try to rob him. Well, he pulls out a gun and shoots them both dead. So after that happened, hotel staff's freaking out, and they start seeing people walking around in that room and down the hallway, and just it's kind of like a known thing. But it's not a popular ghost story in the mainstream. Like my buddy told me, because he worked there for years, and like only him and the staff knew it. So stuff like that, some hidden gems. But I do talk about like the Rougarou, the werewolf story, and then the Valari Mansion, the Voodoo Queen, Marie Laveau. There's, I play the hits, but I also try to find some hidden gems too.
I like that. There's probably all kinds of like hidden gem ghost stories in New Orleans too. So that's pretty cool that you went that route. I think that's awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
And so you're like, if our readers wanted to go and check out your books, so where can they find your books at?
Amazon.com, Barnes and Noble. Each story carries different stuff. Like I was in one where they had 2 or 3 titles, and I was in another store they had none of them. So you don't really know who carries what, but you can find them all on Amazon for the most part. You can type in Southern Ghost Stories or my name, Allen Sircy, and they'll all pop up.
Okay, cool. And now I ran into, when I first met you, was at the Nashville Flea Market. So the only vendor there that sells horror merch, his name is Ben. He's a friend of yours, right?
Yeah, Ben Rumsey. He runs Monster City Madhouse, monstercitymadhouse.com. He's got all kinds of cool shirts and pins, stickers, the licensed figurines. He's got it all. So yeah, check out monstercitymadhouse.com. Ben's got everything you want.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. So when I was talking to him at the flea market, with the flea market, and he was reading one of your books too. So I was like, we were talking about different stuff in my podcast, and he was like, "This guy right here, this is who you need on your podcast." So I had to go hunt you down. I'm glad I did though, because this book was really good. So you do set up at like little businesses around Nashville. So are you always at the Nashville Flea Market?
Well, I'm kind of here, there, and everywhere. I mean, I do the farmers market downtown Nashville. I do the flea market. I do conventions. I was in Knoxville a few weeks ago. I'll be in Lexington in a couple weeks. I'm doing the Gallatin Square Fest. I'll be at Franklin's Pumpkin Fest. And I try to put stuff on Instagram or Twitter, Facebook, X, whatever it's called. Just let folks know kind of where I'm going to be, because each month it changes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Gosh, I'm sure. So you do work horror cons. So because you were at Nashville Horror Con. You and I were both there. Would you work Creepy Con? Is that where you're at in Knoxville?
Yes, ma'am. And I'll be at.
I figured so. Yeah, Creepy Con's huge. Yeah. Do you have any other cons coming up that you got on the books?
Scarefest is in October. That's the big one in Lexington. I'm looking forward to that one.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Oh, that one will be a really, really good one.
I'm actually speaking. I'm doing a panel on grave robbing. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh my gosh, I would totally sit in on their panel too. I would. That's awesome. And what about social media? Can our listeners find you on social media?
Yeah, Allen Sircy or Southern Ghost Stories. I'm on there on Twitter or X, and then Facebook and Instagram.
Okay, awesome. Allen, Southern Ghost Stories. Allen Sircy. Cool.
I got a couple more questions. I only got a couple more for you.
All right.
What do you say to skeptics? First of all, do you have any skeptics that come up to you? And what would you say to them to be like, hey, try this and maybe you'll think kind of along the way I do? If you have people that are doubters.
And it's weird because like it's kind of a gray area, especially we're in Nashville, Bible Belt, and people want to come preach to you or tell you this, tell you that. I was raised in the church. I'm a believer, so I kind of have my feelings to it. But I have a friend of mine. She's an empath, and I think she kind of put it best. She told me she can't see a spirit or a ghost, but she can sense and feel them, and she knows they're there. and she told me that what her feelings are is that a ghost or a spirit is someone who was raised very religious. They were raised in the church, and when they die, they feel they can't go to the light because they're going to be judged unfairly, so they stay behind. That's what a ghost is, according to her. Now, I don't know how it all works. I know something's out there, and it's weird, but her theory makes the most sense to me. Is it right? Is it wrong? I don't know, but that's what I think now that she broke it down for me like that.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before, but it does make sense.
Yeah, it's weird.
Last question I got. Through all your research, everything that you've done in Tennessee, what is the darkest, the most haunted, the messed up, hardcore darkest one that you know of?
Oh man, it's kind of hard. I mean, it's so subjective. One off the top of my head, the Reed House in Chattanooga. I got Southern Ghost Stories Chattanooga. If you're familiar with the story of the Reed House, there's a lady named Annalisa. There's different versions of the tale, but they all kind of end with her dying, being strangled by a man in room 311. And the Reed House, they closed that room down. It was closed for years, but I think a couple Octobers ago, they started opening up. And you can stay there for $666 the month of October. On Halloween, charge $9.99.
That is so funny.
Well, they make you sign a waiver because there have been men who've been attacked. Because Annalisa, the story is she was choked to death by a man in that room. Well, she attacks men. She leaves women alone, but she'll attack men. And I've talked to men who've been in there and like been pinned to the ground. So it's like, it's nuts what happens in that room, and they just keep it locked down. But if you want to go in there, you can sign a waiver, and for $666 or $9.99 on Halloween, you can stay there.
Mike, would you stay there?
Well, maybe if I had a suit of armor.
I mean, not for
something.
I know you went for $666.
$6.66, and I'm there.
Funny. That's funny. I would stay in there, especially if she only attacks men.
Yeah, you'd be all right.
I'm probably safe.
Right.
Cool. All right, cool. Do you have any other questions for him, Mike?
That's all I got.
All right, man. Cool. Man, Allen, it's been so fun talking to you, and I really appreciate you coming on and telling everyone about your books and how you got started. They're really good. Go and check out one of his books. The Downtown Nashville one is amazing. So I would think all the rest of them are amazing. So awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Good luck in the future.
All right. Thanks, Allen.
All right. Allen Sircy. Wow. What a great author. So enthralled in all of the lore and stuff, all the haunted stuff of America, huh?
Yeah, love it. He was so fun to talk to, and his book's really good. It's actually really good. And
awesome.
And I read a book all the way. I'm so proud of myself.
I know. That's awesome. Because we both have kind of problems with books. I more would do it like an audio book than just sitting down to read. I mean, because I do what you do. I do read in like short bursts. I'll read this, then I'll come back later. I don't just sit and read for hours and hours. So it's really hard for me to like sometimes get that momentum of like a long paragraph or long chapter and stuff. So I like that concept.
Yeah, me too. I've never read a book like this one ever. And I told him, I was like, when I bought the book, I was like, I'm hopefully I'm going to sit down and read this. He goes, well, I do everything in little sections, so it shouldn't be too bad. And he was right. So yeah, check out his books for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, that's all I got. You got anything else?
That's all I got for you tonight.
Alrighty. Well, dear listeners, you can only do one thing. If you only do one thing for the rest of the week, you know what you must do? You must do this. You must stay
hardcore.
Alright. Yes, indeed. Doctor's orders. Alright. Bridget, until next time.
Until next time.
Later.
Wow. It's hardcore.
Nothing harder.
Hardcore Horror with Mike and Bridget is a part of the Tennessee Horror Podcast Network.